and the even more infamous Leisure Hive, when Canine was required to travel across Brighton Beach. Brighton, jewel of the southern coast of England, famous for the Brighton Pavilion, the big thing with the onion domes and whatever. The beach are pebbles about that size. You can't walk across Brighton Beach, let alone get a mechanical dog. This is where they tried the infamous caterpillar tracks. It never worked. And the dog who got written out of that particular series, the dummy was used for a couple of shots. After that, myself and a colleague, Charlie Lamb, we decided we really need to rebuild them yet again, replace the radios, replace the drive mechanism. This was the story for State of Decay. In fact, that is Tony Harding, who did the original design. I was doing the radio control on this because frankly wanted to test him out. Because I was doing the next story, which was Warrior's Gate. And we realised in Warrior's Gate that, although the dog was going to be very prominent in it, one person would be leaving, and that was the original Romana. And what happens is the Doctor gives the original Romana as Adric K9. So this was 1981. The original K9 left the story in the Mark II form. Later that year, everybody was surprised when it was announced that there would be a spin-off from Doctor Who. This was the first ever spin-off, which would feature K9 and Sarah Jane Smith. Because Sarah Jane Smith was a very well-known and much-loved assistant in the Pertwee, in fact, only Tom Baker is, but she'd never met K9. She left before the dog arrived. So they had to devise a method of how, and in fact, what dog would this be? The first dog had gone with Leader, the second dog had gone with Romana. So this was the Mark III dog, and this is actually where because I actually designed the Mark III dog. It's the Mark I dog sprayed a different colour, basically. But over the years, a lot more work's been done to it. The idea was that this would be an ongoing series. But I think they realised the impracticalities, a bit like Tom with the dog, Sarah Jane with the dog. The dog is very limited in what he can do. And although it was designed for a series of 6, that would be, we tend to make it in 6s, not American style of 26s, maybe 13s. So we did the one story of 50 minutes. The dog did its usual thing. Interestingly enough, just a little story, if you know your cars, remember the Mini? I'm talking of the original Mini, not this BMW Mini thing. Bigger than a Golf, bigger than a Ford LTD actually. The original Mini, it had a replacement, which was called the Metro. Never a success, it was originally called the Mini Metro, then just the Metro. It wasn't made as a convertible, it was made, I should say, sedan, saloon. But the convertible was made by a company called Crayford. Now Crayford made hot versions, like you get the hot version of the Golf or whatever, this was the hot version. Because convertibles, we want a convertible that's easier to shoot. Think of Bond, you only live twice. The Toyota made a convertible version of the 2000, and they made the two just for film. The original's a coupe. The thing about it also though, not only was it convertible, it was turbocharged. Liz then just passed her driving test. And so we put, here Liz, you've got a very fast, sporty sports car here to sort of drive. But we sort of sat the dog sort of in it, you know, his head poking out over the top of the windshield, I should say, not windscreen. There was me with the new radio control system, the set designer, and the dog. But that was it. No more. We did the one story, and that was it. He did a few guest appearances on things. In 1990, a school's program called SOS Search Out Science wanted a presenter. They originally wanted a Dalek. They wanted a funny Dalek with a blow tickler and a party hat. Terry Nations Estate were not having any of that. So we said, why not use K9 instead? So we got K9, John did the voice, and we rebuilt him. First major rebuild we'd ever had since 1977 to shoot that. This is us, that's me in my workshop working on the head. That's my co-author of the book, Mike Tucker, in earlier years, when his hair was still black. working on the dog. And that's me doing. If you wonder what he looked like inside, he still looks much like that actually. A lot of wiring. It's thirsty work as well. So we did that one. Note, all dogs must be kept on lead. For this particular shoot, we decided that he was deemed to be a cat. So we didn't have to take notice of that. We have a very long running children's program called Blue Peter. And they did a bark in the park for guide dogs for blind or something or other. So they wanted a dog as a guest appearance. That was one of his other ones he came along and did. But in general, he also did, and I can't find the picture, I've got a picture of him in the studio and I can't find it. He also appeared in the UK version of Queer as Folk, which I know is familiar, because she had the American version of it. Now, of course, who devised Queer as Folk? Russell T. Davies. Russell T. Davies wrote in the script that one of the guys in the story buys his boyfriend the real K9 as a present. Russell wrote this in. Russell's always been a Doctor Who fan. He wrote it in thinking, the prop department, find me one of these look-alike, well, the K9s. There are loads of them out there. The prop buyer knew was an ex-BBC one. I'd left the BBC by then. It was mid-90s. He knew he didn't necessarily know I'd got K9, he knew I'd probably know where it was if it existed. Yes, I had it. He got me up there. Russell's highly delighted. Not only has he got K9, he's got the real K9 in there. So the story is absolutely correct. But the important point is, he knows the real K9 still exists. Because although K9 originally carried on doing other things, we had a long-running program called Tomorrow's World. The world of tomorrow. You know, what is science doing? It was actually basically, what is British technology doing? When actually we ended up not having any British technology, so the program sort of went downhill. This was one of the last ones. I was also involved with Robot Wars in the British version, one of the creators of that. And this is one story where they got one of the robots, I think that's Skeletron, and the dog in for one of the stories about him. So he was doing these odd guest appearances now and again. But in general, nothing. Doctor Who finished in 1989. There was this strange movie made in LA with Paul McGann, and you never know how it fits, but nothing, nada, nothing for years. Then Russell T. Davies reinvents Doctor Who, 15 years after the last Sylvester McCoy episode in 1689. And we knew some elements would come back. Cybermen, Autons, Daleks. My colleague Mike, you saw earlier, was up and we were having some party. He was working on it. I sort of pulled out of the business. He was doing some miniatures and things for it. He redesigned the Daleks. Not the latest Daleks, but the first read in the Dalek story. He did all that, he did the Emperor Dalek and whatever. And we joked. He said, ho, 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 they'll be bringing K9 back. Yeah, ho, 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 let's go and have another drink. You know, because K9 wouldn't fit. God's honest truth, the following week, the phone rings, Mike. You never guess what? Yes, they're bringing K9 back. I said, yes, he said. Russell wants to know if you still got it. So he kept his story, school reunion. It brings back Sarah Jane Smith. The longest span we worked had any character repeating, 25 years, repeating the same character. Certainly in the science fiction, but probably any drama series, any television series anywhere in the world, certainly the UK or the US. So, the new Doctor, who by now, because he's David Tennent, who has never met Sarah Jane in that guise, and in that guise, well, of course he's the Doctor, because he's met K9 already, meets the rusty K9. Now, this is where the half comes in. If you remember back, I said we had dummy one. Now, because he had to be rusty and clean, and they didn't have enough money to rebuild one completely, we took the dummy one, Mike did, rustied it up, put a fake interior in, so he now had got a proper fake interior to him. He ran, interestingly enough, remember that picture long ago of the Tamiya chassis? That was basically built underneath, because that's all there was room for. Because all he had to run around was on the school floor. It was on a very flat floor.